What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Dogs Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had a good week in golf. Black Desert Classic, first time we ever had the event. Matt McCarty. Shout out to the kid.
Lefty.
It's true. Worked out well. A little lefty magic. Hopefully it carries over this week. What'd you think of the week?
What did I think of the week? I think I need to book a flight and go play that course because it was beautiful.
Yeah. Like I said last week, it was an extremely picturesque course. And I knew it would be based on everything I had heard about it. So that does not fully surprise me. But again, very interesting the way the week turned out. I know I got a lot of grief last week from Jack regarding, picking some low price guys that probably weren't likely to do that well. And in some retrospects, he was right. But in other retrospects, I don't think a lot of people put Matt McCarty as their winner this past week on their bingo cards. So, it ended up being one of those things where you just had to find somebody, and Matt McCarty was the one, or Matt McCarty was the one. So hopefully he did so. God, I'm going to do that 100 times because I think there's now, 3 McCarthys on PGA Tour and now Matt McCarty. So that is going to piss me off because there's too many of them. They all say their names differently. That's going to bug me. Outside of Matt McCarty, anybody else stand out to you this past week?
No, I would say it was a pretty
uneventful week.
Uneventful week. I feel like a lot of guys kind of flew where they were supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a standout guy for me.
I mean, I'll mention a couple guys. A few notable guys to miss the cut. Michael Thor Bjornsson, who withdrew. Keith Mitchell missed the cut, which was probably the biggest name in terms of notoriety missing the cut. Then you had Luke List, Hayden Buckley, Patrick Fishburne, which I guess those kind of stand out as notable names to miss the cut in a weaker field like this. But in any normal event, you're not really worrying about Luke List, Hayden Buckley, or Fishburne. So it happens. Some of the best low price picks that Jack and I were all over. Lanto Griffin, who again didn't play great, but finished T54, considering he was in the 6,000, it's pretty good. Max McGreevy, who finished T11, was a good play by us. Patton Kizzire, who finished T43, was a good play. Daniel Berger, who I was a little bit more on board of than Jack was, who finished T35. And then we did comment a few times last week about Matt McCarty, who, again, finished first.
And Alejandro Tosti. It's my guy on that course.
Yeah, I did not even consider Tosti. But yeah, Tosti also played well. Some of our misses, I thought Kurt Kitayama would struggle. He ended up finishing T25, which was pretty good. Keith Mitchell missing the cut was a miss. And then again, Patrick Fishburne missing the cut was also a miss. At least on me. I guess I was higher on Fishburne than you were, but.
And that's why you listen to me for Kurt Kitayama, baby.
Yeah, there you go. You can take your Kurt Kitayama finishing T25. I would not have been as ecstatic on it, but I get it. So, all right. Any other thoughts on Black Desert, or are we just going to move on here into Shriners?
Honestly, that was a event that could have been played on your local public course. That was just, if it wasn't for the scenery, it was hard to watch. There was a drivable par 4 was awesome.
Yep, that was nice.
That. But I mean, it's hard just because we have playoff baseball, yep. NBA preseason, NHL starting, WNBA finals, and we have 2 sets of football going on. It's an event like this is hard to navigate to when there's so much going on. This is a better field. I love the Shriners. I love what it stands for. And as the weeks continue to go on, I know Zozo is going to draw some big guys, probably Xander, Hideki, so forth. So we're getting there.
Usually the Shriners and the Zozo are the 2 bigger events of the swing season. So that makes sense then that this would be kind of the way the event works. It's very intriguing because I know that the PGA talked a lot about all their changes they were going to do to the swing season and all of the the different fields that we would get where everything would be different. Am I stupid, or have I not really felt that yet? All of this seems pretty standard to what we kind of got used to in the past. Now, I know I'm stupid, so you don't have to agree with me on that part, but isn't this all the same of what we were usually doing year after year after year?
Usually there's a little bit of a break. There really wasn't this year. Number one, I think, is most noticeable for me from a fan perspective.
Okay.
And I also think that they're spreading out the KFT guys from jumping into it directly. It would have been nice if they forced some of the bigger guys to play these events, but I think they'll start to do it Zozo.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, let's just do this real quick. Do you want to talk at all on your DraftKings or FanDuel lineups? Anything stand out to you on that one? How'd you do?
Well, yeah, DraftKings was spectacular because I won money, especially off you, and one of my guys did an tee off because I was in meetings the whole day.
Yeah, I had a pretty horrible DraftKings and FanDuel lineup. My only bright spots were Seamus Power, who finished T11, Ben Coles, who I think was like top 10 until he shot +5 on Sunday, and then Foxy, who finished T46. Everybody else for me either missed the cut or withdrew, and I did have some withdrawals, which sucks. So hate the fact that withdrawals happen, but unfortunately it's part of the game. How did your bets do last week?
I'm so glad you asked me that. It's one of my favorite topics. We went, I don't know why I just pulled up the wrong tab. Last week, we went 3-1, which was what?
Well, didn't you have Griot too?
Yeah, well, he withdrew before teeing off, so it doesn't matter. So 3-1. If you want to throw 3-1-1, go for it. But 3-1, Kurt Kitayama top 40, you're welcome. Seamus Power top 40, you're welcome. Lucas Glover top 40, I said lock of the century, you're welcome. Andrew Novak top 40 is the only one that was missed. It's because he apparently had some baby otitis. Could have gone a lot worse there. Baby otitis and decided to withdraw. So
yeah. Add Novak to the list of withdrawals that I had. So love that.
On the week, that's all that matters.
Yep. I think he withdrew, by the way, on like the 17th green of Friday after he made a double. So like I'm pretty sure he just withdrew because he knew he was missing the cut, which like is kind of a shitty thing to do if you ask me. But it is what it is. For my bets, not my best week. I went 2 for 5. Misses were Keith Mitchell over Kurt Kitayama. Ryan Fox top 30, who again finished T46, and then Patrick Fishburne top 20 in round 1. That was one where I may have gotten a little overzealous and jumped the gun and was like, I'm going to try and get fancy here. Didn't work out. But again, my 2 hits were Harry Hall being the top Englishman over David Skins, Callum Tarrant, and Ben Taylor, plus 125, and Lucas Glover, top 30 at minus 115. So I lost 0.88 units on the week, so I'm now currently up 2.09 units on the year. So still up 2 units. It's early. How'd your winners do this week?
My winners did great. I had Lucas Glover finished 3rd and Kurt Kitayama finished 25th. So I'll take that in an event that a second event on the PGA Tour professional win. So
yeah. It was funny. We squad rode Lucas Glover, and he finished 3rd, which is great. So that means we both did well as far as that goes. My other winner's pick was Justin Lauer, who missed cut. So nothing too eventful there. Wild card, did you win or lose?
I had let me go back. Sammy Valimaki top 30. I said he was going to dominate, and he did the quite opposite of that. So
there you go.
No,
that's fair. I had Daniel Berger top 20 at plus 200. He finished T35. I think he was like 2 or 3 shots out of top 20. It's a loss, but like it was competitive. I wasn't mad about the fact that I ended up with that one. So stinks, but unfortunately lost for both of us this week on wild cards. All right, with that, let's head to the Shriners. This is held at TPC Summerlin, aka the Vegas Classic, in my opinion. One thing to note, this is going to be a very easy golf course by professional golf standards. This course has actually broken the record when it comes to, missed cut lines at like -7 or -8. There's a lot of scoring opportunities, especially on the back nine. Back nine's significantly easier than the front nine. You don't really have to ask me why. You can just pull it up, but like there's a lot of like 330-yard par 4s on the back nine where you don't get those on the front nine. The bunkers around this course are by far the hardest parts of the entire course and often end up being where golfers kind of end up hemorrhaging strokes. You don't get a lot of bogeys or doubles, but if you do, likely it's because you hit it into one of these bunkers and struggle to get it out. Strokes gained putting is probably the most correlated stat when it comes to this course. There's only 10 other courses where putting is more correlated than here in Vegas. So keep that in mind that like good putters are going to be useful this week. And then driving distance and driving accuracy are really not all that important here. Course history, though, actually has been pretty important. It's one of the stickier stats as far as that goes. Generally, if a guy has played well here previously, he's going to do so again, and then vice versa if they've not played well here in the past. Not that they can't play well here, it's just a little bit harder. So best players in terms of course history, it's a little bit skewed because some guys have played significantly more than others, but like Tom Kim, Adam Hadwin, Matt Neesmith, Harry Hall, Ryan Moore, Adam Schenk, Matt Kuchar, Martin Laird, Bo Hostler, Aaron Baddeley, Luke List. So keep that in mind when you're looking through. All of those guys are options. I like some of them more than others, and I will mention probably a few of them throughout the pod. But with that, Jag, is there anything that stands out to you this course? Or are we dipping right into the DraftKings lineups?
Dip right into it.
All right. Again, one thing I will note, Vegas is a very popular spot for a lot of these golfers. So there's a good amount of them that are actually based in Vegas, or TPC Summerlin is a home course for them. I will try and let you know when we overview one that has a home base in Vegas, just to, in case you want to do a little bit of a tiebreaker. First grouping is 10K range on DraftKings. We have Tom Kim at 10,800, Davis Thompson at 10,300, or Taylor Pendrith at 10,200. Feel like?
Is it bad to say none of them?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't mind Thompson and Pendrith.
Okay.
I say you avoid Tom Kim like the plague.
Really?
He's so volatile. Take a look at his last finishes. If you really break it down, 50th at St. Jude.
Okay.
Olympic is a wash. Open 125th. 15th at Scottish. Basically the same conditions. 75th in Detroit. There's so much volatility there. Yes, he's won here twice in 2 starts. I would fade him like the plague. There is nothing in my bones, and I need to find what his placement odds are because I will probably be fading that while I Google that right now.
I just think the challenge with Tom Kim is, again, he's won here twice. This is not a very long course. I didn't even go over it, but this is a par 71 totaling 7,250 yards. It's not a bomb and gouge. This is a hit it 275 yards off the tee, keep it in the short stuff, hit a short iron into a green, and putt. And there's anything Tom Kim can do, it's that specifically. In his 2 starts here, he's actually gained both 12 strokes with the putter as well as 12 strokes total on approach. So as long as he can get off the tee by any means, which generally he does, I don't see any way outside of him finishing outside of top 25 in this course.
Yeah, his placement is 18.5. So
yeah. Do I think he might finish 20th? Sure, but I think that's less volatility than probably a Pendrith or a Thompson. At least there's a higher floor when it comes to Tom Kim, in my opinion.
I think Davis Thompson is going to have less success than people like us see, but more success in the general public. And here's why I say this.
Okay.
He's not a deep scorer. He's not going to make a ton of mistakes, but he's not going to fire 4 rounds at 66 in a row. Whereas Pendrith can and has done it time and time again. Yep. The problem with Pendrith as well which is why I say potentially fade it. He'll go 64, 64, 73, 66. There's always one round in there. Yeah, he does enough in the placement. You take a look at his last 6, 7 starts. He's up there at top 20, usually about every single time. If I was going to pick one, I would go between Thompson and Pendrith. I think there's a chance Tom Kim misses the cut.
Yeah, you and I will disagree on that one. I'm big on Tom Kim, but that's fun. I'll go over Taylor Pendrith. On paper, this isn't the best golf course for him, but when you look at his finishes here, in his last 3 starts, he's got T3, T44, T47. That basically tells you he has the potential to succeed here. When you look back at some of his history on this course, he has a tendency to actually club down a lot. I went through and actually looked at some of his video because I was so curious on him. He hits a lot of 3 iron off the tee. The guy does not hit a driver here a ton, which is fine because, again, you don't have to. And I think because of that, he finds more success here. So I'm very okay with Taylor Pendrith. If I don't go with Tom Kim, I like Taylor probably as a second option. Davis Thompson, he's been a great tee to green player since basically last May, gaining in 15 of his last 17 when it comes to those tee to greens. One of those misses was like the Open Championship, which like it's okay. It's very different. You can
it's not Vegas.
Yeah. You're not mixing up the Open Championship in Vegas. That's for sure. He has some great play and is likely to make the cut, but just keep in mind though, like he's actually lost on approach in each of his last 5 starts, and 4 of them he's finished outside of top 30. So I know Jack talks about Tom Kim potentially missing the cut. I don't think Davis Thompson is going to miss the cut, but I just think he has much less upside than Taylor Pendrith or Tom Kim at the end of the day. I could see Thompson finishing much more closer to a T40 as opposed to Tom Kim or Taylor Pendrith finishing T4.
So, I don't hate that.
So that's my thought process on those. Anything else, sir? You kind of ranked yours out, right? You like Pendrith and Thompson as your 1A, 1Bs, and then Kim as your third?
I do. I think that stylistically, none of them fit a perfect mold for me. And I know that's ironic considering a guy is literally perfect in 2 starts here. Sorry, I'm sick, so I'm low on everything. I promise I'm not mad or distracted. I'm just sick as hell again.
No.
Thompson, if this event was won at 17 under, I would put him as my winner's pick today. It's not. So he's got a fault there. Pendrith, like you had mentioned, doesn't have the ability to take advantage to his strong suit to the highest degree. So he's got a chain on him. And I think Tom Kim is not, granted, he is becoming one of the weirdest golfers in the world because he's so inconsistent, but consistent at the same time. I think this entire tournament for him is going to be based off Thursday. It's statistically his worst round has always been on Thursday. He's a very slow starter. And if you take a look at his last, let's call it, in the entire year, his season average on round 1 is 72.
Yeah.
So it's all of them to me, especially in a weaker field like this, where that 9 and 8K range has so many people that have an applicability to be in the top 10. It's very scary for me.
That's fair. I'll just mention mine real quick, and then we'll jump into the 9K range. Give me Tom Kim at 1, Taylor Pendrith at 2, Thompson at 3, just based on upside alone. But I get it if you want to go another way. All right, into the 9K range we go. Steven Jaeger at 9,900 down to Eric Cole at 9,000. 2 highlights, and then I'll let Jack talk. In the 9K range, both Kurt Kitayama and Seamus Power live in the area. Seamus actually has like an uncle or some family that owns a bunch of like restaurants in the area. So you'll probably see a bunch of like Irish flags thrown around there, and I'm sure you'll see some Kitayama love as well. But keep in mind that Power and Kitayama are the 2 big Vegas boys in this range.
Awesome. Let me start off right now. Steven Jaeger, do not overlook him. Do not overlook him. Liam, not to throw you under the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it makes me so happy to say this. You were wildly off on Steven Jaeger last week, and I'm not saying it to throw egg in your face, but what we did see as a result of that was, my God, does this guy, when he's on, have the ball striking of Patrick Cantlay. It is so magical to see what he did. And if you really take a look at it, his putter was really on. And of course, that putting is not really the separator. So if he can take that at 9,900 and bring it into this event, I think he can dominate. Below that, the guy I think may or may not win this event, I don't want to spoil anything, has also been on fire. And if you take a look, he's finished really, really well, even with a couple hiccup rounds. Like you take a look at him at the Tour Championship, he had 76, 74, and 72 and still finished 29th. Yeah, that was months ago. And he came back at the Pro Cure, of course, that he probably should have done worse at, and finished 7th. So I think he's a guy with ball striking that's going to do well. Kitayama, I've already talked about him enough. He's a monster. I love him. Hostler's had a ton of success here. He's one of the guys, especially after the last 2 weeks, that has fired on all cylinders, and I absolutely love him. Seamus Power is, I want to say, if I remember my notes, right up there in terms of course fit and course model. And if you take a look at his last finishes, my goodness, does he fit the mold? Keith Mitchell, don't touch. Mike McCarty is due for a rebound, so he's probably going to finish like 47th, and that's fine. And then Eric Cole is either going to miss the cut or finish top 7, and there's no in between.
There you go. Jack went over a bunch of it, but I'll highlight some of the ones he already discussed. Seamus Power, the putter, has been absolutely spectacular coming into this event. He's gained in 10 of his last 11 starts with the flat stick. He played extremely well on Sunday last week, too, at Black Desert. And I kind of expect that to carry over for him this week, considering it's a home course this week. Despite it being a home course, though, keep an eye on his finishes. He's miscut T21, miscut T41, T57 in his 5 starts here. Now, again, some of that stuff was back in like 2016, 2017. So it doesn't really give the best full perspective of Seamus Power. But I'm actually a big fan of his this week. And again, I think in a home course could be really good. I'll mention Kitayama. I didn't like him last week. And to be fair, it was kind of for good reason. He gained over 10.5 strokes on approach, but he also lost 7.5 strokes with the putter, which is crazy. That statistically made it his worst putting performance in his professional career. He's played here 3 times, but not since 2021, and he's actually missed the cut in all 3 of his starts here. Do I see him missing the cut this year? Probably not. He'll probably end up making the cut. Do I think it's going to be a pretty finish? No. So Kurt Kitayama, I'm probably a little lower on than Jack, but Seamus Power I'm very high on. I will mention Jaeger, again, who has found something with the putter. He's gained in 4 straight events with the flat stick. So, of course, I started to dislike him like 4 events ago, and now all of a sudden he's gained with the flat stick. Prior to this change, by the way, he had lost on with the flat stick in 10 straight starts. So I had a reason for not liking him, but he has figured out the putter. The rest of his game is solid. So therefore, Steven Jaeger is a viable option now that he's figured out how to putt. I will mention Tom Hoge, who Jack is a big fan of. Historically, he was much more accurate than he is currently, but he's actually a really spectacular wedge player, which again will be useful this week. He had been playing awful for a few starts in a row, and the putting had been hurting him. But now that he's back into the swing season, where he always seems to figure out his golf game, I actually anticipate he's going to have a pretty good week this week. And then again, Matt McCarty, shout out to him on the win. To be honest, he probably will end up withdrawing. That's going to be my guess. I don't think he's going to actually play in this event because he won. He won last week, basically out ball striking the crap out of everybody, which is great. But I really don't see him doing that again this week. He has 1 in 4 of his last 10 starts, which is kind of crazy. But again, Jack kind of mentioned it. He's going to probably regress back to the median there at some point. And this is probably a week where it's going to start to happen. All right, 8K range we go?
Yeah, I'm going to lead us off with the number 1 outside of Tom Kim that have played 5 starts in this event. Number 1 in the entire model, Adam Hadwin, all the way down to Johnny Vegas himself.
Vegas boy. There's one guy in this range that I'm going to call out first and foremost, Harry Hall. He played well in the first 3 rounds in Black Desert, but basically gave it all away on Sunday and finished T35. He's based in Vegas. This is his home course in all senses of the word. He's an elite putter with elite course history in this event, that includes finishes of T8, T15, and T26 in each of the last 3 years. Bear in mind, he's gained over 15 strokes putting across those 3 starts at this event. So the guy is a spectacular putter, and he also putts extremely well at this event. Harry Hall could probably be like 9,500, 9,600, and I would have probably found a way to get him in my lineup. So him being 8,400, where he can be your 3rd, potentially 4th guy, depending on how you have your lineup set up, is a very, very dangerous but also exciting option. I'll mention Hadwin just quickly. I'm sure you probably like him too, Jack. He's played 30 rounds here and has gained across the board when it comes to this event, especially with the putter, where he's actually never lost strokes putting here. He has 5 top 10 or better finishes in his 8 starts here. I have him ranked technically 2nd in course history, but behind Tom Kim, again, because Tom only has 8 rounds and 2 wins. No, you said he was 1st, right?
I said if you exclude Tom Kim.
Oh, all right. I didn't hear that part. My fault. The only concern with Adam Hadwin is he hasn't played since the BMW Championship. But again, Kurt Kitayama didn't really have any problems with that last week, and I think Adam Hadwin will probably be in a similar situation this week with Kurt. So he's a very vital option.
I love Harry Hall. I talked about him, what would you say, a dozen times last year? Probably
Yes.
At least 8 weeks before you finally joined me on the hype train.
Yes.
One of the trends, if you're newer here, is I'm a degenerate. Liam is a strategy, or not a data person.
I'm a numbers guy. Yeah.
So I'll be up at 3 a.m. like a loser watching Asia Tour golf, World Tour. I'll watch high school golf. I'll watch collegiate golf on Tuesdays when they're doing duels. I love all that
Jack,
stuff.
You like watching the little guys play golf? Yeah. You like watching the minors play golf?
This is going on Google. Like there are guys like this that come up through the pipeline that Liam hits his radar when they get to the level of like a second-year PGA Tour, unless they're like a Mike McCarty, where like there's bases going into it and there's hot. Yeah. It's not that.
If they're doing hot on like a Korn Ferry Tour or something like that, I'll keep an eye on them. But yes.
I'm not trying to, and I know you know this, I'm not trying to rip on you. I'm just saying there's guys like this, and that's kind of the basis. Harry Hall has been a monster for years. And he's finally getting into a spot where I think his short game was what kept him in. And now his short game is elevated compared to the tour, and his now ball striking is improving each and every time. Now, if we can work on basically from 200 to 120, he's going to become a top 50 player in the OWGR by the end of the year. But hot take, I know. Adam Hadwin obviously ranks number 1 outside of Tom Kim. Yes. In his last 6 starts here, he's got 2, 10, 6, 34, 4, and 27. Strokes gained is positive all across the board, like you had mentioned. I think that at 8,900 for a guy that's this comfortable at this course, it's not unreasonable, because at the same comment that you could have made about Harry Hall, if you're someone that's into the data like you, someone else could be like, oh my God, what a miss. Also, I think that Cam Davis is a really, really sneaky play.
Yeah.
I really do. Cam Davis is so streaky because he can finish 118th at Wyndham and then place 5th at the BMW, and it's really similar layout in terms of conditions and model. It's very, very confusing. With that being said, he is one of the people that does have in this range the ability to drop 64s 4 days in a row. And I think if you're looking for a guy that has the capability to do that, I think you can. And he's got an average finishing placement in his 5 starts here of 30, with the only negative being 0.04 in the minus category for strokes gained around the green. So I think it's an option.
I kind of laughed that you said he could be a sneaky option, because here's my notes on Cam Davis. He can get it done in a lot of different ways. Very well known for going low, which you discussed. Not normally thought of on this course, as it isn't necessarily for bombers off the tee. But Cam Davis could be a sneaky option this week as somebody who has gained with the putter in 4 of his last 5 starts and had a great finish to the end of the 2024 season. Potential to win this event or finish 120th. So I basically just highlighted half the stuff you had based on the numbers too. So if that doesn't tell you that somehow that the eye test as well as the numbers coincide and oversee one another, that's pretty funny. So
yeah.
All right. Anybody else stand out to you in this range? I know Poston sometimes we get some love, but like he scares me right now.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at him. I'm looking at Johnny Vegas.
Okay.
Not only because it's comedic with the name.
Yeah.
Johnny Vegas, ever since returning from his surgery, looks spectacular in all realms of the game. If you really take away the recovery at the Wyndham, which I hate when players, you take a look at when they win and then you base them off their next win or their next start. I really don't like that. I don't think that's a fair metric. Ever since he came back, he's been performing really, really well, and his scores have gradually started to decrease. Yeah. I don't think he'll have a shot at winning this event, but at 7,500 is my make a cut. I'm happy if you play 4 rounds. I think we'd be looking into a top 50 finish at 8K, and I'm completely fine with that.
I think there are lower price guys that I think can do the same as Vegas, but yeah, at 8K, he's a very solid option if you want to go that route. So that's fair. All right, into the 7K range we go, unless you have any other thoughts in the 8. But we'll start with Harris English at 7,900 down to Nick Hardy at 7,000.
Nick Hardy, you're welcome for that last week.
Yep.
This range gives me a headache. Yep. It is scary. I don't love it. I think it's terrifying. I think this is the first time in history, I may say there's only one person that I think you can go to, and it's JJ Spawn. It's not a play that I really want to recommend, but it's really the only one that I can think. Maybe you can get to Harris English with birdies. Maybe you can get to you with his stretch. There's not a guy in here that I go, here's what you need to do.
If you want a low price guy, Ben Coles will probably make the cut at 7,000. It's not very enticing, and he more likely than not he's going to finish somewhere in the realm of like T40 to T60. But you're not mad at that, especially at 7,000. If he's your fifth or sixth golfer, you just want to get him at the cut. Guy has basically missed 2 cuts in the last like 8 months since Corrales. And one of them was to Charles Schwab, one of them was to Wyndham. So like, I'm okay if you want to get to Ben Coles at 7,000. I think he's a very solid option there. The other guy I will mention is Matti Schmidt, who has not missed a cut outside of the Scottish Open since June. And that actually includes, he's been in like 4 or 5 European Tour events that aren't even going to show up on DraftKings. So his numbers actually look much better than what they even say here. He finished 5th last week at the Black Desert Championship. Am I a little worried that he might have some positive regression there? Potentially. So keep that in mind. But he's gained with the putter in 8 of his last 10 starts. And he has 4 top 20s in those 10 starts as well. He finished T26 here in his only start last year. So I think at 7,800, he's potentially, a couple $100 cheaper than Vegas and gives you that same kind of like made cut T40, T50 style type of play. If that is what you're looking for. I will also mention Ryan Fox, again, who missed cut at the Wyndham and then a cut on the World Tour. But outside of that, hadn't missed a cut since the CJ Cup in beginning of May. So another guy who's just made a ton of cuts at 7,600. If you want to go $200 cheaper than Matti Schmidt, I think he is another viable option. And he has some upside too, where he can probably finish, top 10 if he really puts together a couple good rounds. So I could see him being a viable option this week.
Yeah.
As far as guys in this range who are based in Vegas, I want to say Doug Ghim is in here, right? At 7,300. He is. Doug Ghim plays out of TPC Summerlin. He has not gained strokes putting since Houston last year, which was 8-9 months ago now. But he's also gained on approach in every event he's played since Houston. So basically, he has figured out that he cannot putt properly, but he's also figured out that he's very good when it comes to approach. So they just kind of been canceling themselves out together, which is kind of funny. His finishers here have been miscut, T55, T40, and miscut. So for whatever reason, even though he plays here as much as he does at 7,300, he is probably not the guy I would go to as far as, a course history / local guy. I would stick to somebody else in that range. Maybe go Berger, $100 cheaper if you're feeling the spice of life and you want to go crazy there, because he did play well last week. So, all right. With that, are we dropping down to the 6K range?
So glad you asked.
All right, let's do it. We've got KH Lee. Yeah, TPC Lee. What you're saying? TPC Lee.
He 3 missed cuts here, 3 top 40s.
Yeah, there you go. Down to who do I want to put here? We'll say Kevin Kisner, 6,000. He's in the field.
Shout out Kiz.
There you go, Kiz.
All right, 2 safe options, 2 guys you've never heard of. Number 1, Grayson Sick, Georgia Bulldog. I love him. This is a course that I think he can really tear up. 3 starts here, average finishing placement of 39.7 at 6,700. That's really reasonable, especially coming off 2 of his last 3 starts were top 11. 11th at the Black Desert and 4th at the Procure. Absolutely love it. Second guy that you've heard of that I think could do well is S.H. Kim. He has literally sucked egg yolk out of boiled egg the last 10 weeks of golf. But can you think of a guy at 6,500? If you think of S.H. Kim's ball or just game in general, it's just get the ball on the green. Now, I'm not saying this is a confident play, but if you're giving me a guy at this caliber with the approach and the driving stats that he have in terms of accuracy and proximity, that is a play that I'm willing to make. In 2 starts here, he's finished with a missed cut and 4th. So there's availability here, and I understand that he has sucked. I'm not saying that he is on the tear, but he's a guy that I think you can get to. Now, 2 guys that you've never heard of. Number 1, Caden Fiorini. If you're like, who the heck is Caden Fiorini? Well, welcome back. This is his first professional start. He is a collegiate monster. He's ranked 36 in the entire nation in terms of collegiate. He won the Cal Am, kind of how he got in here. 33rd at the US Am. He's a monster. And when I say monster, I really don't say that lightly because college golf has a lot of monsters now. Like, if you think Luke Clanton is still technically in college golf. So that's the kind of the basis you're going off of. This guy, strokes gained, is off the charts in college. You know what his only gap is? Driving distance. You know what doesn't matter for this course? Driving distance. You're welcome. That's 6,200. And I have to find, because I have no idea what his price is. Here we go. Ian Gilligan. You're like, who the heck is Ian Gilligan? Well, I'm about to tell you. Ian Gilligan has made one start. He finished 40th at Barracuda this year. Not only that, he won the Western Am. Think about that. He was on the Arnold Palmer Cup. Think about that. He's got 6 wins. He's 9th in the college events in the last 104 weeks. He's played 37 events. 17 of them have been top 10s. Now, some of them are team events. Some of them are cup events, which are crazy. He's playing, and if you look at the events he's playing in, he's losing to Hiroshi Tai. If you follow golf, you know who that is. Luke Clanton, David Ford. You remember him from API. We have Luke Potter. You have Preston Summerhays. Like, all these guys are in here. That's his competition. And those guys, if you've watched, have made cuts on the PGA Tour, have done well. I think this is an event that he can go out there and dominate. And at 6,300, you're welcome.
There you go. Jack's got a couple guys he liked in that range. It's funny because I had one guy I liked, one guy I'm confident on, one guy I'm way less confident on. So the first guy I'll mention is 6,900. It is Rico Hoey. He is based in Vegas, and he actually plays at this course a lot. He's also been on a run of 6 straight made cuts. He has really good approach play. He's a decently long hitter with the golf ball, but he's also accurate enough that it won't really be a problem otherwise. The biggest question is that he's sometimes iffy with his putter, but he has the ability to be kind of guy that can go low for a couple days in a row. Do I think he's finishing top, 20? Probably not. But he can easily make it to the weekend and figure it out from there. I will mention probably one of the guys only Jack knows because he's degenerate, Dan McCarthy. He's a Corn Ferry Tour guy. You don't need much out of him considering he's the base price. But he's playing solid golf. He's got finishes of T44, T7, missed cut, T41, T53, T8 in his last 6 starts. It's not pretty, but I do like the chances of him over a Kisner, a Tarrant, and the other golfers more expensive than him. Jack already talked Caden Fiorini. I probably would take him over McCarthy, just based on the fact that there's probably more upside. But again, I think McCarthy is a decent option, especially if you need somebody at the Stone Min on DraftKings.
There we go.
Cool. All right. What's your DraftKings lineup looking like?
It is looking like Steven Yeager, 9,900. Tom Hoge, 9,800. We have Seamus Power, 9,300. Johnny Vegas, 8,000. Grayson Sigg, 6,700, and Ian Gilligan, 6,300.
There you go. My DraftKings lineup, I'm starting with Tom Kim, 10,800. Seamus Power at 9,300. Harry Hall at 8,400. Ryan Fox at 7,600. Ben Coles at 7,000. And Rico Hoey at 6,900.
In my FanDuel lineup, pretty similar. Actually, it's really not. I lied. We have Tom Hoge, 11,500. Steven Yeager, 11,100. I have Cam Davis at 10.3, Harry Hall at 10 flat, Michael Thorbjornsen, kind of controversial at 9,800. I think he has an opportunity to kind of jump back here, and then Ian Gilligan at 7,300.
There you go. For my FanDuel lineup, Tom Kim, 12,600, Steven Yeager, 11,100, Seamus Power, 11,000, Harry Hall, 10,000, Ben Coles, 8,300, and then Caden Fiorini, again, the UNLV guy, Stoneman, 7,000.
Awesome.
There you go. All right, on to bets we go. How many bets you got this week?
I think 9. 9 bets for everybody that was like, Jack, you're only doing 3 bets. What's going on? Shut up. Just kidding. Here we go. 9 bets. You're welcome. Tom Hoge top 40 is minus 180. I already told you he's my pick to win. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. This guy's going to blow this out of the water. And I'm pairing that with Tom Hoge top 20 at plus 145. I am all in on Hoge this week. I absolutely love him. Those are two plays I'm really confident about stacking. I have Seamus Power top 40 is minus 150. Bo Hostler top 40 is minus 150. Harry Hall top 40 is minus 150. And Adam Hadwin top 40 is also minus 150. Four guys that we already talked about. Four guys we listed the reasons as to why we're really good. And if you give me 0.75 units in return, I absolutely love that. Nick Taylor, top 40 is plus 120. We didn't really touch on him, but I think he has the capabilities to perform that. I think that's honestly really good odds. Cam Davis, top 40 is minus 125. I think that's a lock. And I have Steven Yeager, top 40 is minus 160.
There you go. For my bets, I have 5 bets again this week. Some of them are pretty similar to previous weeks, but again, it's just going to kind of the way it all happened. First one is Harry Hall being the top Brit over David Skins, Martin Laird, Callum Tarrant, Danny Willett, and Ben Taylor. That's at plus 130. I have Seamus Power over Steven Yeager at plus 100. I have Mattai Schmidt over Andrew Putnam at minus 120. I have Harry Hall, top 30 at plus 105. And I have Adam Hadwin, top 30 at plus 105 as well. Just a 5, but only one negative or only one minus odds, which I think is kind of funny. So that works out well. We go winners or wildcard picks.
My wild card pick this week is Steven Yeager, top 10 at plus 360. I absolutely loved what I saw from him last week. And if he's able to putt like that on a course that putting doesn't matter, coming to an event where that putter really needs to kind of continue with it, plus 360 for this in this field from that guy, I think is honestly, it should be right around plus 260. So we're about 100 discrepancy on the odds, and I absolutely love this.
There you go. I'd be okay with I'd be happy with that for my FanDuel lineup, but I wouldn't love that for my bet, needless to say. My wildcard pick is Rico Hoey, top 30 at plus 200. Again, I think he can put together a couple of rounds, and as long as he doesn't have a big dud in there, I think he has the potential to break top 30 there and do well. So, winners, who you got this week, Jack?
I have Tom Hoge. It's absolutely no secret. I said it basically from the get-go. And then I do have Nick Taylor. It wasn't my favorite one to put, but I think Nick Taylor has the chance to do it. I was going to do Cam Davis, but I think once he gets more into it, there's going to be more opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's tough because Cam Davis is definitely one that I could see myself saving for later, but I didn't hate him this week either. For my winners, I'm taking Seamus Power and Harry Hall. I've discussed both of them a lot already tonight on the pod, so I will not bore you guys anymore with details on them, but both local boys and both have potential to go low for really different reasons. So I like both of them as options. So, all right, with that was the Shriners. I don't even know how many times I mentioned that we're at the Shriners this week. I just said Vegas, I know, a bunch of times, but this is the Shriners, by the way, just in case anybody didn't know any better.
You got 50 minutes in this pod, and we're still wondering what tournament. Shriners.
Yeah. We're in the Shriners. I think I said it, but I don't know if I fully did. So no, this week's Shriners. Next week we got the Zozo. But this is a good week again with a little bit of a better field. If you want to, throw a couple extra dollars out for betting that you've been saving, this is probably the week to do it. Otherwise, save them up. We'll be back on next week for the Zozo to give you more bets and more options. So we'll save for that and have a good week. Deuces.